The Cave's Calling by Eric Kiska. Animated by Bill Netherlands, Holland. I've thought about World War III a lot lately, where I'd want to be when my body burns alive, or what I'd want to do before I die of nuclear radiation. I grew up hiding under desks, as if that'd stop a school shooter from riddling my body with bullets. Kids would do the same thing in the 1950s, but it was the same problem. Hiding under a desk couldn't stop a child's body from being punched with uranium. At least, it didn't in Hiroshima. So I made a goal to tour every cave in the United States, and to finally pick one cave to squat in. Can caves block nuclear radiation from swallowing our bodies whole? Ironically, being at least 6 feet underground might stop me from dying. But what would life be afterwards? I've never thought of myself as an overly social creature, but could I stand my only friends being bats? One of my picks for a cave to squat in was Mammoth Cave National Park, as it's the longest cave system in the world. They've discovered about 420 miles of passageways, but some scientists believe it could be over 1,000 miles long. What if I broke away from the tour and wandered until I couldn't anymore, then found a corner of the cave and made it my corner of the world? As I entered Mammoth Cave National Park, the humidity made my skin swelter. I'm a northerner, so the rapacious Kentucky sun choked me. But Mammoth Cave, in its vast dark beauty, stays 54 degrees year-round. Native Americans used to believe it was an entrance to the spiritual world. They described the cold air calling to them as if it was a siren. But as we all know, sirens kill us with their beauty. I took the lantern tour, so I could have a lantern when it departed from the group. The park ranger told us that slaves used to dig potassium nitrate out of this cave during the War of 1812. The British cut off foreign gunpowder supplies during those years, so Americans had to quickly think of a way to make gunpowder, and potassium nitrate was a key ingredient. But no one, including the park ranger, seemed to mention what potassium nitrate actually is. It is made out of bat shit. The Southern tour guide called slavery a peculiar institution, but didn't want to create the picture of dozens of slaves digging batshit by lantern light so white people could fight over land that wasn't theirs to begin with. People wonder why I worry so much about World War III. We've become so individualistic, so swallowed in our own problems and too comfortable in isolation. The more isolated we become, the easier it is to treat other people as expendable. This world was forged in violence, and I find it idiotic that people don't believe violence will end it. Whether that be the violence of a bomb, or the violence of extreme individualism, causing nature to take back its own land. We walked through a narrow passageway of the cave called Fat Man's Misery. An enslaved man named Stephen Bishop called it that. He was brought here as a slave and forced to be a tour guide, and discovered many of the passageways that park-goers tour today. When his faux owner died, he said Bishop could be a free man 7 years after his death, but then Bishop would have to move to Liberia. Stephen Bishop would get his freedom, but would die the next year. After we walked through Fat Man's Misery and saw Mammoth Dome, the tallest part of the cave, we walked up some long winding stairs and made it back to the main passageway of the cave, where there was a restroom. As everyone went to the restroom, I made my break for it. Jogging with a lantern, I was seeing what they call historical graffiti. When people came here in the 1800s, they'd etch their names on the cave walls, but it's a felony to do that now. I eventually got to a passageway that seemed relatively untouched by human nature. There was a warning sign next to it saying the passageway was off limits. Could this be where scientists went to study cave creatures such as eyeless fish, bats, and salamanders? I stopped jogging and entered. The smell was getting muskier, but the long dark nothingness was calling to me. I could make this my home, I told myself. With enough cans of beans and a gun, I could avoid the end. But then I thought to myself, what am I doing here? Why would I want to avoid it? I'd be eating beans from a can and masturbating to cave drawings? Is that really a life at all? Well, Maybe that's a better life than constantly seeing my aunt post AI art on Facebook of Marlon Brando in a banana hammock. After 10 minutes, I heard a voice, but I couldn't make out what it was saying. My fight or flight sense slapped my adrenaline, but I didn't turn. It was a woman's voice. She sounded soft and maternal. I walked towards it, and it almost seemed like a sweet song. She was saying,
"Come with me, Elijah. They can't hurt you down here."
There was a bright flash of light that rapidly pierced my eyes. I curdled into a fetal position. The light calmed, and I heard footsteps, but I couldn't move. She walked towards me, gracefully and elegant. Was this the being that stopped Native Americans from entering the cave again, about 2,000 years ago? I felt her stand above my body, but I couldn't open my eyes. She then creeped down and wrapped her warm arms around me. The cave was even colder in this part, but her embrace was as warm as the Kentucky sun. She then whispered in my ear,
"I have you now, Elijah. You don't have to burn anymore."